Howdy, howdy, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I am Brandon Sylvia. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for stopping by to make the lock it in predictions for the Game Awards. The nominees were just unveiled. We got the website pulled up. We got the official list of all the categories. I'm going to go through not all of the categories, but through a good majority of the major categories. Make some predictions, lock them in, and see what we can get right. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing, liking, doing all that good stuff. It massively helps out the channel. But let's go ahead and get into this, man. I'm going to make my screen smaller here so we can go through all of the categories together. So we'll start off here with Game of the Year, start off with the big dog, and work our way on down through the other categories. Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. And the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So, got to give myself a pat on the back before we get into this. I got all 6 of my nominee predictions correct after I failed the first go around before Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out. I underestimated the power of Mario, and then when it came out and slapped me in the face with like a 90-something on Metacritic, I was like, okay, yeah, that's definitely going to get into the final 6. So it wasn't like the toughest round of predictions there, but I guess I'll let my narcissism win here and acknowledge my victory. But Game of the Year, I talked about it before. It's gonna either be Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like I gotta be honest, I'm a bit conflicted on. I've been battling this internally, where I held out, didn't buy Alan Wake 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, 2 games that I really want to play. I didn't buy either of them, didn't play either of them because they weren't released physically. And I know, nobody can play every single game, and it's like, but I do try to, when I'm analyzing the year and then going through and doing these predictions, I do like to be able to give you guys some of my own personal insight from my experience playing the games. And I don't know, I'm a bit torn internally, where I'm like, am I doing my audience a disservice by not playing some of the biggest games of the year? And now, when I'm making these round of predictions, I'm having to use anecdotal evidence and other people's analysis which, it is Game of the Year voted on by critics. This isn't my vote. To be clear here, I'm predicting what I think is going to win, not what I want to win. I'll do my own Game of the Year ranking at the end of the year. But I don't know. I am a little bit conflicted by that, because I think you guys know I am somebody that I try my damnedest to actually play the majority, not the majority, but a good chunk of games that come out each year. Try to play the biggest games that come out each year and analyze them with you all. So I don't know. I know I'm an old man dying on a hill yelling at the cloud, physical media, but there also is the thing where when the investors, when the shareholder meetings take place and then they're analyzing, crunching the data, I want to be one of those statistics of people who held out and didn't get the game digitally, and then when they release it physically, I'll go and buy it then, and hopefully those numbers will be enough to make these AAA companies continue supporting physical media. But regardless, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss damn Game of the Year, acknowledge the greatness that is on offer here, and I think it's Baldur's Gate 3 or Tears of the Kingdom. I think without a doubt, it's one of those 2 games. The thing with Alan Wake 2 is that the critics who love this absolutely freaking love this game, and it could be one of those situations, like 2021 with Deathloop, where I thought it was a foregone conclusion that Deathloop was going to win Game of the Year in 2021. And then, out of nowhere, Joseph Fares hazelighted, kind of artsy, similar to Alan Wake 2 in some respects, kind of a more artsy experimental title, comes out and delivers the final blow, wins Game of the Year in 2021. We could see something like that here with Alan Wake 2, but I just think Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 are too, they're both too strong. And here's the thing with Baldur's Gate 3. I think more people for sure have played Tears of the Kingdom who are voting on this, so you have to factor that in. But with Baldur's Gate 3, the sustained conversation, how frequent I hear this game talked about, and for how long, the longevity of this game is really, really impressive. Those water cooler discussions that I'm just, I scroll through Twitter and see people talking about a long ass thread of critics and just fans talking about all these crazy moments, these dynamic moments that take place in Baldur's Gate 3. You just don't see that type of conversation, the longevity that conversation has sustained regarding Baldur's Gate 3. It just didn't feel the same way with Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not saying it was out and then the conversation just died down immediately. It did have some legs, but just not in the same way that Baldur's Gate 3 did. Man, I really don't know. It's either Tears of the Kingdom or Baldur's Gate 3 without a shadow of a doubt. And I gotta say, I gotta give you guys some credit. And when I did my first round of predictions, or honestly both rounds of predictions, people were hitting me in the comments like, dude, Baldur's Gate, a lot of people are like, Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna take it over Tears of the Kingdom. And I mean, a lot of people were hitting me in the comments saying that. And I know that, you guys aren't voting on this, which I guess the fan vote has like 10% or whatever. But I just wasn't expecting people to go to bat that hard for Baldur's Gate 3. And once again, when you're talking about the conversation and talking about how red hot people are on this game, and I mean, perception is reality. And I don't know, from my comment section, which once again is anecdotal evidence, but my comment section seemed to be very, very in favor of Baldur's Gate 3, and y'all are the ones that played the game. So I'm gonna let y'all take the reins here. I'm gonna lock in my final prediction for Game of the Year 2023. I'm going to believe in you guys. I'm going to go with Baldur's Gate 3. If I get this wrong, I'm blaming y'all. Moving on over to Best Game Direction, awarded for Outstanding Creative Vision and Innovation in Game Direction and Design. We have Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom. This one I could very well see going to Alan Wake 2. I think this is another two-horse race. Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think any of the other games will even be anywhere close to those two for Best Game Direction. Outstanding Creative Vision and Innovation in Game Direction and Design. From what I've seen of the cinematic blending from the in-game moments to the live action moments in Alan Wake 2, it's just unbelievable. And I know Remedy has been trying desperately to get that live action shit working in their games, and it seems that they really cracked it with Alan Wake 2. And I'm trying my best to avoid any story stuff and any spoilers, but I have stumbled across a few conversations where I'm like, oh, yeah, that might have spoiled something a little bit for me, but shit just looks really interesting in terms of being totally unique and creative vision. Like, that is when you're thinking about the auteurs, the Hideo Kojima, Sam Lake is kind of poking around in that realm as well now, and I think I'm going. I will say the Baldur's Gate 3 conversation, with how when it released and people were like, hey, you can't expect this from AAA games moving forward. This was such a specific set of circumstances for Baldur's Gate 3. They were given the resources and the time. It's like, all right, guys, all right, that is game direction though. You know what I mean? Like, they had such a very specific vision that they stuck to and absolutely knocked it out of the park from all accounts. But I think creative vision, like unique, and I know that's not in the description here, awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game innovation. I once again, I hate that I should have played these damn two games, but I'm going to lock in Alan Wake 2 here. I'm going to lock in Alan Wake 2 for getting the W for Best Game Direction. All right, moving on over to Best Narrative for Outstanding Storytelling and Narrative Development in a Game. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2 are the nominees. I love to see Phantom Liberty in there because I was worried with it being, a DLC that it wouldn't be included for anything but ongoing game. But I mean, it's like a 20-hour experience, 20-hour experience. That's longer than a lot of games that get nominated. So I'm glad that it gets acknowledged as like a standalone experience. And it's a great narrative. Idris Elba in there, and Keanu obviously, and just there's some really high points in that story. And I played through and finished it. Played through and finished Final Fantasy 16 and Marvel Spider-Man 2 as well. Spider-Man 2, I didn't think it had the strongest narrative in the world. It's good. I don't think it's necessarily great. Final Fantasy 16, I think whenever Final Fantasy 16 is guiding you and directing you in a straight line, the icon battles and some of those spectacle moments, I do think it has some of the strongest moments in a story. And Spider-Man 2 has some excellent moments as well. But I think overall, Final Fantasy 16 is just a better overall story, I would say. I think I probably would take Phantom Liberty's narrative over both of those two. But once again, from everything I've heard, I would assume it's... I don't know, actually. I really don't know, honestly. I could see Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, or Phantom Liberty getting the victory here. I would lean more towards Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 from what I've heard. I will go... I'll lock in Alan Wake 2 for what I think is going to win Best Narrative. Moving on to Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. We have Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I think without a shadow of a doubt, this should go to Hi-Fi Rush, in my opinion. I also think that Thirsty Suitors, I thought the art style for that was incredible. Very Double Fine-esque, but still really, really Psychonauts-esque, but it was still incredible. Lies of P, I get it, the kind of Bioshocky, Bloodborne feel. Tears of the Kingdom, I would really, really struggle seeing that win best art direction at all. I think that, for me, I would for sure predict Hi-Fi Rush to win Best Art Direction. All right, moving on over to Best Score and Music for outstanding music inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. And the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. I think, Hi-Fi Rush, I mean, obviously it has the benefit of like Nine Inch Nails and I think The Cure, and they have some awesome licensed songs in that game. But, just how the world would, how you have to react to the sounds of the world and the whole rhythm component that is in play there. I thought that was a really brilliant design, which obviously ties in to the soundtrack. But I mean, we have a best audio design category as well, and that would somewhat tie in there as well. Final Fantasy 16 has a absolutely epic score. It feels so epic. I think I would be leaning that way. I'm sure, like I said, I'm an idiot old man that refuses to buy AAA games digitally. I haven't played Alan Wake 2 or Baldur's Gate 3, but I would imagine that Alan Wake 2 probably has a pretty incredible soundtrack. Control soundtrack was incredible. I'll go... I almost want a Best Score and Music. I feel like I want to go Hi-Fi Rush here as well. Hold on, let's move over real quick. Is the next, let's see, Best Audio Design. Recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. I wonder exactly how Hi-Fi Rush would work there, because it is audio design and how that merges with game design, with the rhythm elements. So let's go back here to Best Score and Music. I'm going to give Best Score and Music to Final Fantasy 16, and then let's move over here to Best Audio Design. I will probably give Best Audio Design to Hi-Fi Rush. I might be thinking too deep into this shit here and make a goof, but I love Dead Space as well. I think this is the only nominee that Dead Space got. The only nomination that Dead Space got was for Best Audio Design, and just that crunchiness when you're stomping down on those damn necromorphs. Like, I love that crunchy audio design in Dead Space. I would love to see it win, but I'm gonna go Hi-Fi Rush to get the victory for best audio design. And now moving over to best performance, awarded to an individual for voiceover acting, motion, and or performance capture. We have Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16, Cameron Monaghan from Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba from Phantom Liberty, Milena Liberd from Alan Wake 2, Neil Newbon from Baldur's Gate 3, Yuri Lowenthal from Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Idris Elba was really good. He had to play a very stoic role, so there wasn't a lot of range in his role in Phantom Liberty. I thought that I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name, Cameron Monaghan, I thought he was excellent in Jedi Survivor. His performance was really, really strong in that game, in my opinion. The whole way through, his performance was strong, and it was a more gritty, kind of rugged performance than the first game. Ben Starr, I think, probably should win it. The range that was on display, his range was impeccable, incredible, man, in Final Fantasy 16. So I think overall range, overall performance, I think I probably would say Ben Starr. Yuri Lowenthal had a real strong performance in Spider-Man 2. Once again, that story goes very off the rails, and for him to be able to juggle in between that insanity with the symbiote suit and all that, and then the more which there are serious moments there, but some of the more like toned down serious moments, more gritty moments, to be able to pull off both of those, to pull off that range was impressive for Yuri Lowenthal. But I think I will go Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16. All right, but let's move on. We'll do a few more of these categories and we'll wrap this up. Let's go to best independent game. Best independent game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system, which is very specific terminology, because a lot of these games were made with pretty big, not a lot of them, but a few of these games like Dave the Diver were made with pretty big publishers backing them. But hey, at the end of the day, I don't know if there's a better way of identifying what an indie game is or defining what an indie game is. I think their system here is fine. So we got Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I'm thinking Sea of Stars. I'm thinking it's either Sea of Stars, Dave the Diver, or Dredge. I want it to be Dredge. Dredge is definitely one of my favorite games of the year. I just think it's such a fun loop. The kind of survival horror boating game, which is a combination of things I never expected in my life, to be out at sea, fishing and dredging and finding old diamond rings, old gold rings, and selling them at a little pawn shop, taking the fish back to the fish merchant. Like, it's such an addictive loop. And then the H.P. Lovecraftian monsters and those elements that present a threat later at night. It is a brilliantly designed video game. But I think it's going to be Sea of Stars or Dave the Diver. I don't think Sea of Stars was nominated for best RPG, which I could be wrong on. We'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go Sea of Stars. I think Sea of Stars is going to win best independent game. Let's move over here to best action game. For the best game in the action genre focused primarily on combat, Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Remnant 2 are the nominees. And I think this is very, very likely going to Armored Core 6. I'd love to see it go to Hi-Fi Rush. Dead Island 2, I like seeing Dead Island 2 nominated. That makes me happy to see Dead Island 2 in the final nominee list. It wasn't a game I was crazy about, but it's silly. It's fun enough. It's gory as shit. I love their whole dismemberment system. I mean, they have a whole technology designed around the dismembering of enemies in this game, and I love that. I love that was such a focus in development, and the fact that it came out and was as polished as it was, going through all the different development hands, like, that is definitely an impressive achievement. It's cool just to see it on the final nominee list. But I think this is without a doubt going to Armored Core 6 for Best Action Game. Moving on to Best Action Adventure, we have for the Best Action Adventure Game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Tears of the Kingdom are the nominees. And my brain immediately goes to Tears of the Kingdom just because it hasn't, from what I'm predicting, I haven't predicted, I don't think, Tears of the Kingdom to win anything else. So I think I would go Tears of the Kingdom here for Best Action Adventure Game. I love the Metroidvania aspects in Jedi Survivor and how that combines with the puzzle solving and being able to reach new locations with the different powers that you get throughout the game. And I love how open these play spaces are for you. It's just like little small open hub areas that allow for a great range of different traversal options and cool puzzle solving. And just I really, really love just the entire design around Jedi Survivor and those open areas. RE4 is one of, if not my favorite game of the year, but with the definition here for the Best Action Adventure Game combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, like, I don't know, the Resident Evil 4 is definitely not the high point, definitely not the strongest in franchise history for the puzzle solving, for sure. And same with Spider-Man 2. It's just the puzzle solving's like, okay, it's fine, I guess. Tears of the Kingdom, though, I think it has all of these elements, and it changed the way I thought about puzzle solving. Being able to essentially solve your own puzzles however the hell, there's like 800 different possibilities seemingly, and you just create as long as you want to get across to the other side of this lake, you figure out how you want to do that, and they give you all the tools at your disposal to figure out how to solve each of these puzzles. And I think that's really brilliant. I think that's something that we'll see. I think that is a innovative mark that game has, that we'll definitely see the ripple effect of that down the line for years to come. So I think I will go with Tears of the Kingdom for Best Action Adventure Game. Let's move over here to Best RPG for the best game design with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield are the nominees. And obviously this is going to go to Baldur's Gate 3. It's not even remotely close. I am glad to, and Sea of Stars. I talked about that earlier, where I didn't think it got nominated for Best RPG, but it did. And I think I voted that, or predicted that would win Best Indie Game. So that doesn't really change my opinion. If anything, it might reinforce my opinion that it'll win Best Indie Game if it can sit alongside these games for Best RPG. But shout out to Starfield, though. I know it won't win, but I'm glad it got nominated for something, and I think it should have been nominated for Best Narrative. It's definitely one of my favorite stories of the year, for sure. Just the faction quests alone, those are some of my absolute favorite missions that I have done in a game this year, and then done in a game, participated in any video game in a long ass time. I absolutely love those quests so damn much, and just the freedom that it allows you. And there's some really cool moments that just feel, I don't want to go into spoilers, but you feel so connected, like having to do a mission with people and then potentially killing those people based on the decisions that you make. I'll go on a little bit of a tangent here, I guess. But like, I remember a certain more business-oriented quest that I did in one of those faction quests, and how I was thinking like 80 layers deep and trying to cancel this ongoing business project because of the technological advancements that were on offer that other people could get. And I was like the first test subject for this medical advancement, this technological advancement. So I already had the technology implanted in me, and I didn't want other people to get it. So I'm like sabotaging this investment. I'm sabotaging this potential enhancement for humanity out of my own greed and self-interest. Like I love some of those faction faction quests so much in Starfield. So yeah, I'm just glad it got nominated for something, man. I'm glad to see it sitting amongst these other RPGs. I think it also should have been nominated for best narrative, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So best RPG, I think, like I said, this is undeniably going to go to Baldur's Gate 3 for sure. All right, so let's do best adaptation, and then we'll do most anticipated game, and we'll just close it off with these final two categories. Best adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. And the nominees are Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, The Super Mario Bros. Movie, and Twisted Metal. This is for sure going to come down to The Last of Us and Super Mario. They're, without a doubt, one of these two adaptations is taking home the victory. I don't have any interest in seeing the Mario movie. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's very fan servicey, and people who love Mario will like the movie. But I think The Last of Us, I mean, the impact that it had is crazy. People that, I know older people who were watching this, like 60, 70-year-old people who were watching this who had no interest in the game, will never play the game, but it's just an incredible story, like an objectively incredible story that it can be adapted anywhere, and people are going to love it outside of the video game space just because of how great that fucking story was in the game. Now, you can maybe make the argument that the source material was already so strong, and they did deviate a bit from the source material at times and created their own unique stories and their own unique episodes inside of the series. And you could say, hey, maybe the Super Mario Bros. Movie was a little bit more original, and so that can give it points. But I don't think that'll be the case. I think for sure The Last of Us, the HBO show, will be walking out of here with the victory. Alright, and now closing off with most anticipated game, recognizing an announced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. Probably going to be Final Fantasy VII. Probably going to be Final Fantasy VII, I would say. I think that Star Wars Outlaws, out of this list for me, without a doubt, Star Wars Outlaws is my most anticipated game from this list of 5. But Final Fantasy VII, man, there is... I love the part 1. I'm very, very excited for part 2. But there is a hardcore group of Final Fantasy VII fans that like they stand this damn thing. So I think that will probably get the victory. I can maybe see Hades 2 getting the dub here, but I would say it's either going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Star Wars Outlaw. I don't think it'll be Star Wars Outlaws just because critics hate Ubisoft seemingly, and so I'm going to go with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for most anticipated game. For me, though, it would be, out of this list of 5, it would be Star Wars Outlaws without a shadow of a doubt. Alright guys, so those are my official predictions for the 2023 Game Awards. Obviously skipped over a few category stuff that I don't have as much knowledge or as much interest in, but those are my official lock it in predictions. I can't change it up now. It's too late. I'm locking it in for good. We'll see how it turns out. But I'm also going to be doing my Game Awards announcement predictions sometime soon, where I go over and I got a big ass list of shit. Not that I'm necessarily predicting, but a big list of games that I think have some possibility or some likelihood of showing up. So that'll be a juggernaut of a video that will come out sometime in the next couple weeks, I would assume. So stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, share it with a buddy, all that good shit. Comment down below for the algorithm. It all helps get the content to more eyeballs. I greatly appreciate all of your support, and I will see you good people in the next video. Goodbye.